Here's Miss Meyer for another episode of the Miss Meyer Show. So today what we're going to talk about is economic decisions. So get ready. All right. So with economic decisions, it's basically how we make choices, how we make decisions on what we're going to buy. And the main thing that we are, goes along with the economic decisions is supply and demand. Supply and demand is a relationship that creates price. Demand is the amount a person is willing to spend at a particular price. Supply is the number of goods or services that manufacturers are willing to sell at a certain price. When the supply of something increases, the demand decreases. When the supply decreases, demand increases. It's kind of like today. Today is the day after Valentine's Day. I guarantee I could go into Walgreens, Walmart, or wherever, and their Valentine's items are going to be really, really, really cheap. A lot cheaper than they were yesterday. If you were going to try yesterday on Valentine's Day to buy a dozen roses, you would have paid $150 easy. Well, today the prices are much lower because the demand is not as high. There's a ton of people on Valentine's Day that ambush Walgreens, that last minute people, okay? And the prices of cards and candy and chocolate and all that, that's really, really high yesterday because the demand was so high. But today, that's it. They don't, the demand is much lower, so the price is much lower. A week from now, you're going to go into Walmart, and there's going to have all these bins that say clearance, and it's going to be all Valentine's candy. It's going to be really, really cheap because the demand is low. So when the demand is high, the supply is low. When the demand is low and the supply is high, that's just the way the market works, okay? Think about when the iPhones come out. There's not a lot of iPhones. There's not a ton of them available. The price is really, really high because the demand is high and the supply is low, okay? A consequence is what we're going to talk about next. And a consequence is the result or the outcome of an earlier action. Sometimes the consequence can be good, and sometimes it can be bad. Listed below, and remember I'm getting all of this information from Study Island. Study Island is the #1 place to prepare for the leap. We went through everything with civics, and now we're on to economics. So basically, I'm not going to read through these consequences. You could read them on your own. But a consequence is something that you're going to have to do because of something else. Like if you don't do your homework, consequences that you're going to get a bad grade. Well, there are economic consequences as well. Kind of like, let's say you mow lawns. Some of you might do that for a couple of, $10 or whatever. A lawn or whatever. I'd pay you to mow my lawn for $10. Jeez. Well, let's just say you do that. And then you've been saving your money. You've been saving and saving and saving and saving. You got a lot of money saved up. And your friend calls you up and says, hey, Bruno Mars is in concert. Let's go. Well, you've been saving up your money to buy an iPad. But you really want to go to Bruno Mars. So you take that money and you buy tickets to Bruno Mars. A consequence is that you won't have the money for an iPad. There are economic consequences. And as you guys get older, you will be able to start to see them. Especially as you guys get into college and, graduate from college and have careers of your own. You're going to see that your economic decisions have consequences. Let's say you graduate from college and you want to get an apartment, and you really see this awesome apartment, and it's got like a loft pool and a gym and all these awesome amenities, and you really want it, but it's kind of out of your price range. If you get that apartment, a consequence of that might be that you don't have enough money after you pay your rent and all that to pay your internet bill or your cable or your groceries. So everything has a consequence, and there are also economic consequences as well. Okay? Next, we're going to talk about economic concepts. Now, these are important decisions that are made every day in the marketplace. Households must decide what to buy based on their needs and wants. Businesses must decide the best way to make a profit, and governments must decide what rules and regulations would be best for the stabilization of the economy. Each decision is affected by several economic factors, including scarcity and opportunity cost. So that's what we're going to talk about. There's three things. Well, one of them is opportunity cost. The next one is scarcity, and the third one is the comparative advantage. Now, the opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative given up when a choice is made. So, for example, your friend invites you to go see a movie after school, but you have basketball practice. What is the opportunity cost of going to see the movie? Not going to basketball practice, not being ready for the game. So, an opportunity cost is something that you are giving up. Something that you have to do. A great example was this. Remember when all that bad weather was hitting and everybody was out of school? My kids were home from school. Everybody, all the schools were out. All the schools were out, but we still had school. We were a virtual school, so we still had school. We gave up by attending a virtual school. Part of something that we had to give up was having snow days, having ice days. That is our opportunity cost. It's something you're giving up to get something else. Okay, the next best alternative. Okay, it goes along when you talk about economic decisions. Just like I said before, if you're taking that money that you've earned cutting lawns or mowing lawns, you're taking that to go spend on a Bruno Mars ticket. Your opportunity cost is that you can no longer buy the iPad. Okay? Scarcity is the condition of not being able to have all the goods and services you want. And this could be for many reasons. What's something scarce that people want a lot of? I don't know, but I know for Christmas, the big thing that my daughter wanted for Christmas, my oldest daughter, really wanted this thing. And I'm in her room. This thing right here. She really wanted this for Christmas. And it's got all these loom bands, or a loom. That was the cool It toy. It was a scarcity of this because it was really difficult to find. I bought her the rainbow loom like this, but this is not the correct loom. She wanted the fun loom, or was it, I got her the one that she didn't want. I gave her, she wanted the rainbow loom, or the fun loom, whatever, I got the wrong one. But that's because they hardly had any. They did not have a lot of these things. And that's a scarcity of resource. There are many reasons that they do this. Right here, play with this. What do you have? What's that? Okay, now there are many reasons for a scarcity of resource. One can be that they're trying to drive up the price, when that really wasn't the case with the fun looms. It was only like $20 and the price never really increased. It was just that there were a lot of people who wanted it. Another reason, if they wanted to drive up the price, like a Christmas ago, I think 2 Christmases ago, this was cool. This is what a lot of people wanted. This is the Kindle Fire. And it was really kind of hard to find. And they were able to make the price like $299. I don't know how much this was. I think it was about...
Taking one in the hole.
What?
My jar came out.
So I don't know exactly how much this cost. I think it was like $299. But they were able to put the price up because there was a scarcity. Okay, also there is an unequal resource distribution where certain areas have other things. Kind of like in the city, like my husband and I, my family and I, were getting ready to move. We are no longer going to live in New Orleans. We're probably not going to move until the end of next school year. But we're moving to the North Shore, which is an area a little bit further than New Orleans. And one of the things that's really sad for me is that I'm going to be leaving behind all of the cool things like the museums and the stores and the French Quarter and the flea market and all those kinds of things. Because over on the North Shore is more country. So they don't have a lot of the different things that I like here in the city. So it's a scarcity. There's unequal distribution. There's less of something here than there is there. And that's also one reason for scarcity. We can allocate scarce resources, and this is something that our government does. It is when the economic resources are scarce, individuals and groups must decide how to best utilize them. When faced with poor growing seasons, farmers may be forced to adapt their farming techniques or may even need to grow different crops. A country might obtain limited resources by trading with each other. If energy resources are scarce, governments and businesses may invest in alternative energy sources. So you can get around that. There are ways to, if there are scarce resources, kind of like in other countries where food is scarce. They don't have a lot of food. They're going through drought and famine. Other countries such as the United States, the United Kingdom, and so on, allocate their resources that we have to send over there. So you can do that. Comparative advantage is the next thing. And this describes when a country is able to produce a product at a lower price than other countries. We see that a lot. I mean, everything we have here is made in China or made in Taiwan or made somewhere else because it's cheaper there. They have comparative advantage. They can make it cheaper. So that is a comparative advantage. It's based on opportunity costs and scarcities. Countries that have the lowest opportunity cost and are least affected by scarcity have a comparative advantage over others. Bless you. These countries are able, bless you, to specialize in producing and trading goods. Kind of like we get a lot of our stuff from China. We get a lot of cars from Japan. Countries get a lot of food and grain from the United States. So everyone has a comparative advantage